Greetings, family, and welcome to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Seraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray, family, that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms. Thanks for all the love, for everyone who has rejoined us on this main channel. We actually were on a hiatus for like a year because it was being heavily shadow banned. It was almost, deleted. And we've been at Dr. Mumbi Spiritual Show, so definitely check it out, catch up on everything we were discussing, because we went more into looking at what was happening inside of us so that we could elevate to new levels and more, experience a more sophisticated lifestyle. I'm not even going to get into that on this channel, but definitely check it out, family. Thank you so much to every single person that supports us on Patreon. We appreciate, love you so much, and everyone who sends us love donations through PayPal. You guys really do enable us, to continue to bring the awakening news. And it is such a joy and such a pleasure to be, because 5 years ago we started this Wake Up Africa movement, and we can now see that not only has Africa awakened, family, but our group consciousness is coming back to life. Like all of our individual awakenings are now having a ripple effect on the group consciousness, and things are really starting to move forward. And especially you can see it with France, family, and how France is literally leaving Africa. I mean, Macron even said it himself. I think he said something like the end of French, control of West Africa is now over, blah, blah, blah. But it's not by their choice. It's not by his choice, family. It's because the seasons and times demand it, because I've always said this. I don't know if you guys have ever listened to the interview I did with Miles Monroe before he passed on, and he talked about how the baton had been passed to the motherland, that whether we were prepared or not, whether we were ready or not, whether we liked it or not, the global rulership was coming to the South, and it could not be stopped. It could not be sidelined. And that's why it's important, family, that we as the so-called Southerners do not yield our power to the narratives of the past. Because I keep telling you, Babylon is fallen, and I'm still seeing comments from people who are like, oh no, they're gonna come back, they're gonna do this, they're planning that. You are the ones who are feeding them with your energy so they can do that. If you came behind us and actually started thinking about how Africa is moving forward, yes, we're winning. Start thinking about us as winners, family. Instead of always thinking about us as losers, instead of always thinking we've got to take that L. Like, come on. And I think that's a good place for you so-called Pan-Africanists, to see where you are. Check your comment. See what kind of energetic contribution you're making to the liberation of Africa. Because there's too many in the wrong mindset. And you know what? You're not going to stop the awakening, which is already happened in the spiritual realm. So, we're just waiting for it to appear here. It's like being told of a victory over there, but you're at the finish line. You know what I mean? But the victory has already happened. And the reason I get a bit emotional, family, is for your sake. Because if you are not in the correct mindset, if you are not in a more sophisticated mindset, then the motherland is going to leave you behind. No one is responsible for how you think. You can't blame the Europeoids, as they like to call them. You can't blame the Mzungus anymore, family, because we are now in spiritual time. Yes, a lot of brainwashing has happened. Yes, a lot of damage has been done. A lot of trauma has been placed as energetic blocks all over our body to stop us from being able to take a mental quantum leap and enter a more sophisticated mindset, which will open the gates to a more sophisticated reality and a more sophisticated way of life. There's a lot of successful Africans across the motherland who, through changing their mindset, have changed the reality for themselves. But what they find is they're limited in their ability so much construction going on where I am, family. There's a limited, they even made my thoughts go away. So family, basically what I was saying is that if you do not have the correct mindset, if you are not seeing the motherland as a winner, then you're going to get snared by Babylon into thinking that it's our losing season when it's our winning season. They need your energy. They need you to come against yourself. They need some of us to come against us. But it won't work anymore because we've already hit that new level. As I was saying, the victory we've already received news of the victory. We won by a lot. But it's like the cars are still there or whatever. Whoever is racing, they're still coming. But we know, we're assured, we're so far ahead. And you see, when the energy was in they like to call it the Kali Yuga, the dark ages. I mean, I know dark is even, But when we were in the age of ignorance, the ignorant among us, it's a B family, the ignorant among us had a lot of power in driving us in that, in that ignorance. And that's why they even created secret societies, so that the compromised Oreos would continuously sell us out because they had a higher knowledge and we'd been totally dumbed down spiritually. And they could do that because they were also like serving those, darker gods. And excuse the dark and light family. They were serving those underworld, those, hell gods or whatever. And those were the ones. But even those gods of the underworld, even the gods who were controlling the motherland and the world family, they have now yielded to the Most High. They have now yielded to the feminine universe that is taking over this realm, that has already taken it over spiritually. And if you don't recognize that and you continue moving the way Babylon has taught you to move, you are not going to make it. So when I get all these emails of people, oh, the world is ending, oh, this is happening, oh, we're in danger of this, oh, we're in danger of that. If your mind is right, I know it seems like to the unknowers, to the ignorant, it may seem like I'm speaking gibberish or something. But if you work on having a more sophisticated mindset, this is the engine that will get you out of Babylon's way, that will get you out of poverty, that will get you out of disease, that will get you out of mental slavery. But you have to start using it correctly and remove all the side doors that they've created to your mind. This is not even what I was going to discuss, family. But I think it's so important because we are having a series of victories. And the majority of us are celebrating and seeing those victories. But the ones, I don't know if it's the Jimmy job, I don't know, family. But there are still those who Babylon has totally conquered their mind. That they don't see the seasons and the times. They're not even fully informed. They don't know that there's a revolution going on in France right now. And even if France wanted to, they can't take back Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali without the help of the other Babylonians. They just can't. They divided, then the Western, Babylon is gone. I don't even know why I'm even explaining it. And so I guess this video is just to encourage you, family. We as the motherland don't need you because the mother is back. But you definitely need the great mother. And that means adjusting your mind so that you can receive your mental and spiritual inheritance to transform your life and our collective lives. Like, that narrative is gone. That book of life has been closed out. There are still residues that some of us are still dealing with. But all in all, that chapter is not even a chapter. A book of life has ended. And we are entering our story. So please don't diminish the experience for the collective just because you don't believe. Just because you're still in belief. Because the many of us who are seeing what is unfolding on the motherland, we see and we know. That's the gift of being the Most High's child. You see and you know. You don't need to read no book. You don't need to consult no stars. You just have to have your heart right and be thinking in a more sophisticated way, in a more lovely way, in a more gentle and calm way, family. I really hope you make it. Because what I can say is this world, where I am right now, I feel I'm in 7D. I'm still going higher, family. Life is but a dream. It is so colorful and magical and light. It's light, family. The heaviness and the baggage is gone. And we owe it to our ancestors, to our ancient ones, to the ones who moved aside. So some of us chosen ones could be here right now. We owe it to all of them to remove the heaviness that we contribute to the story of the motherland. And for some of you, fake it till you make it. Fake that you believe Africa's going to make it, that you know Africa's going to make it until you start seeing it for yourself, because it's already happening. The ship has sailed, family. You're the one who needs to get on board. Before, we needed to awaken a certain number of people so that we could hit a tipping point and go over. But we've hit that tipping point. That's why our ancestors were so busy. I saw someone write in the comments on one of the previous stories about how the Great African Awakening took place between 2020 and 2022, when there were whole lockdowns and everything. They tried to block it, but it didn't work. And that's 2020, end of 2022 is when we hit that tipping point, family. Now, for many of us, 2023 has been about achieving that equilibrium and that balance, where we're not yo-yoing between Babylon's reality and our paradise, but we're permanently here in our paradise. But those are stories for other days. TUKO PAMOJA. And you know what? You're with Mumbi and Tony Dongo.
Yes, and we have
I've been telling you guys, we've got a date with Destiny, whether you believe me or not. And this Destiny is only going to last 20 minutes. That's what we've been told.
It's a short one.
So we might actually just talk for 20 minutes.
Let's do it, man.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
And
have you pressed that red button called record?
Oh my gosh, just hold on.
What's happening? Really?
Just hold on.
Like this?
I'm overexcited.
Let's do it.
We had an honor and the pleasure to go and witness Dr. Monroe speak today, this morning.
Yes.
And he has graced our presence to come and talk to us about something that he touched on this morning.
Yes.
And it really touched my heart about Kenya and who we are as young people. And, Dr. Monroe, we have about 1 million+ listeners who are tuned in today, young people. And it's a blessing that you're here with us.
We've been telling them the entire week you're coming. And we didn't tell them you're going to be in the studio until yesterday.
Yes.
So now there's vibe on Twitter and on Facebook, and everyone's like, we want to hear what he has to say. So it's so nice to have you in the room.
Well, first of all, thank you for the privilege of joining you on your wonderful radio show, I should say.
Yes, thank you.
And of course, greetings to all the Kenyans listening and also the visitors who have joined in. It's a pleasure to be back here in the beautiful capital.
Yes.
And of course, Kenya has become dear to my heart. It's only been the second year, but I love Kenya already. And today was a privilege to be able to share with the leaders who were present, including yourselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Happy that you were there because I think you are the future of Kenya.
So when was the first time you came to Kenya, Dr. Monroe?
Yeah.
Well, it was last year. I was invited to come by here with Pastor Julian and the wonderful people at Purpose Church. They asked me to come and share with their church, with the community, with the government leaders, with the business sector. And so we always wanted to come to Kenya.
Wow.
It's been a long time anticipating it, but I'm finally here. And now that I've been here last year and this year, I think we're going to make this a habit.
Oh, great.
Nice. My hood, we're very safe. Things are good. There's a house there you can come and buy and stay.
All right.
So, one of the things that I guess that Kenya is part of the rest of Africa is that we have a very young generation.
Yeah.
And everyone keeps saying that there's a renaissance in Africa going on. Maybe what kind of renaissance is it? Is it a material one? Is it physical? Is it
a mental
spiritual?
one, spiritual one? Yeah.
I think it's what I would call a convergence. A convergence only happens a few times in history. And if you study a history of the last 2,000 years, you would discover that there are certain moments in history where certain things come together and everything is lined up perfectly. It's almost as if there is a divine providential act that brings all the pieces together at one point, and then there's a change in history. That is why, for example, the word Renaissance sometimes is used, because during the earlier Renaissance, way back in the 1400s and then the 1600s, it happened again in the early 1900s, where all the social, economic, political, physical, psychological, spiritual entities were at the perfect point where they collided. And there was a dynamic change in the world.
Yeah.
We are back there now.
Yeah.
I think what's happening now is, and it only happens once in your lifetime.
Yeah.
And we are witnessing it, where changes are taking place that no one can control because no one initiated them.
Yes. That's very powerful.
Yes.
No one initiated them.
And so what's happening now is that there's a divine providential shift that is changing the complete formula of global relations.
Yes.
It also is changing the economies of the world.
Yeah.
It is changing the political spectrum. It's changing the educational spectrum. It's also changing the leadership spectrum of the world.
Yeah.
And so what is going on from my assessment is that there's a shift from the north to the south.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the global hemisphere, where leadership is now moving toward the south. It happens to be, of course, the continent of Africa, South America as well, and of course some of the islands in the Far East. And what that means is that Africa is about to take on the responsibility of leading the next century.
Wake up, Africa! Wake up, Africa!